The day I found the letter, I realized my future had been built on a lie. I still remember the way the envelope felt in my hands, thin, almost weightless, the kind of paper that could slip between couch cushions and never be found again. It had no return address. Just my partner's name, written in a hurried scrawl I didn't recognize. I wasn't looking for trouble that morning. I wasn't searching for secrets. I was just gathering the mail from the kitchen counter, still barefoot, still half asleep, the kettle whistling behind me. But some letters don't wait to be opened. They pull at you. They whisper. And when I tore this one open, when I saw the words "Final Notice" printed in red across the top, my breath caught in my chest. For a moment, everything inside me went quiet. Even the kettle seemed to stop its scream. I stood there, my fingers trembling as I skimmed the rest of the letter. Numbers. Amounts. Interest. A balance so large it felt like fiction. And at the bottom, in bold, immediate action required. My partner, Liam, had never mentioned this. Not once. Not during our budgeting talks, not during our plans for a new home, not even during those nights when we lay under the same blanket dreaming aloud about our future. Debt. So much debt it made my stomach twist. And in that moment, still standing in the soft morning light, my socks picking up crumbs from the kitchen floor, I felt something inside me shift. Not break, not yet. But shift, like the first ripple before the wave hits the shore. It's strange how a single piece of paper can change the air in a room. How it can turn sweet dreams sour. How it can make a person question everything they thought they knew. That morning, I thought I was just making tea. Instead, I was beginning the unraveling of the life I'd built with the man I loved. Normal life before the storm. If you had asked me a month before that morning, I would have told you my life was steady, maybe not perfect, but steady in the way that gives you peace. The kind of steadiness you lean on without even realizing it. Liam and I had been together for 5 years. Long enough to blend routines, to understand each other's moods before a word was spoken. He worked in marketing, a job he often described as a circus with nicer clothes. I worked from home as a freelance designer, my days filled with sketches, client calls, and the constant hum of my laptop fan. Our home wasn't large, but it was ours. Or at least, I believed it was ours. A small rental house with faded blue shutters and a kitchen that smelled permanently of coffee and cinnamon. That's what I loved most, the feeling that no matter how chaotic the world got, we had carved out this little pocket of warmth for ourselves. Evenings were our ritual. He cooked, mostly simple things like pasta or stir-fries, and I cleaned. He liked his music playing softly in the background, always old jazz or acoustic covers. I liked watching the way he bobbed his head as he stirred the pan, the way he hummed off-key. It was ordinary, but it was ours. And we had dreams. Big ones. We talked about a house with a backyard big enough for a garden. We talked about a dog, something fluffy, he always joked. We talked about maybe having a child someday when life felt a little more secure. Everything we did, everything we saved, was pointed toward that shared future. Or so I thought. Looking back now, I can see the cracks that were already forming. Little things I brushed off, dismissed as stress or forgetfulness. The first time he forgot to pay the electricity bill on time, we laughed it off as a busy month. When he seemed oddly panicked about a credit card offer arriving in the mail, I didn't question it. When he said his card was acting up during a grocery run and asked me to cover it, I believed him. That's the funny thing about love, it makes you trust blindly, even when small shadows start flickering at the edge of your peace. We were planning to move soon, maybe in 6 months. We had a short list of houses saved on my laptop, little dream homes we'd scroll through late at night. He'd point at the screen with a spark in his eyes and say, "Imagine us here." I imagined it. Every day. Every quiet morning. Every time I folded laundry or scrubbed dishes or made coffee in the kitchen with sunlight pooling around my feet. Our life felt solid. Predictable. Safe. But safety can be an illusion, and illusions can shatter with one envelope. I didn't know that then, not in the way I know it now. I didn't know that the man I trusted with my future was carrying a secret heavy enough to crush us both. I didn't know I was standing on a fault line that was about to split open beneath me. All I knew, in those days before the truth revealed itself, was that I loved him. And that love made me blind. I didn't open the letter again that day. I tucked it into the drawer beside my bed, the one where I kept receipts, stray pens, and the little things that never seemed to find a home. I wasn't ready to confront what I had seen. Not yet. Sometimes denial is its own kind of shelter. I told myself I needed to wait until I was calm. Until I knew what to say. Until I could be sure I wasn't misunderstanding something. But avoidance has a way of rotting in the dark. And the more I tried to ignore that letter, the louder its silence became. Small cracks becoming fault lines. The very next week, another small crack appeared. It was a Tuesday evening. Liam came home later than usual, his tie loosened, his eyes shadowed in a way I hadn't seen before. He kissed my cheek, but it was distracted, like his mind was halfway across the room. "Long day?" I asked gently, drying dishes at the sink. That was all he said at first. I watched him as he walked to the fridge. It was the stiffness in his shoulders that caught my attention. He was carrying tension like a man holding something too heavy for too long. He grabbed a beer, twisted off the cap, and leaned against the counter for a moment. His eyes stared at the floor. Not tired, troubled. "Want to talk about it?" I kept my voice soft, a whisper more than a question. He shook his head. "Just work stuff." But it didn't sound like work stuff. I wiped my hands and stood beside him. "Liam, you know you can tell me anything, right?" His jaw tensed. Just a flicker, but enough for me to notice. He forced a smile, one that didn't touch his eyes, and wrapped an arm loosely around my waist. "Of course. You worry too much." But as he walked away, I felt a chill. Not because of what he'd said, but because of what he didn't. A strange phone call. That weekend, I heard his phone vibrate on the coffee table while he was in the shower. Normally, I wouldn't have looked. We had never been the kind of couple to snoop through each other's things. But something about the way the phone buzzed over and over again, 3, then 4, then 5 times, made my stomach tighten. The screen lit up with the same unfamiliar number. No name. No saved contact. Just a number that looked oddly familiar, though I couldn't place it. When he came back out, hair damp, towel around his shoulders, his eyes went straight to the phone. He picked it up so fast it startled me. "Spam," he muttered, turning the screen face down. My chest tightened again. Another crack. Another shadow. But I said nothing. Because the truth is, I was afraid of what I'd hear if I asked. The budget conversation. A week later, while we were sitting on the couch planning our monthly budget, I brought it up subtly. Or at least, I tried to. I had my laptop open, spreadsheets pulled up, bills laid neatly between us. We were preparing for our move, and every dollar mattered. "We're doing okay," I said. "But maybe we should review all our accounts again? Just to make sure we're on track." He stiffened. "Barely. But enough." "Why?" His tone was too quick, too sharp. I swallowed. "Just, to be thorough." "We don't need to go through all that again," he said, leaning back. "We just did this like, a month ago." I nodded slowly. "We did. I just thought." "What?" He didn't sound angry. He sounded defensive. Protective in the wrong way. "I just thought, since we're planning the move, maybe we should double-check everything." He exhaled hard, rubbing his forehead. "Babe, you're overthinking. Trust me, everything's fine. Trust me." 2 words so simple, so ordinary. But that day, they landed with the weight of a lie. The slipping mask. After that conversation, something in me started watching him, not suspiciously, but more like a person studying the cracks in a foundation. I couldn't help it. Once you see the first fracture, you can't unsee the next. He became more careful with the mail. More quick to grab it before I could. He paused before opening certain envelopes and always made sure I wasn't in the room. He kept his wallet closer, his laptop closed, his phone face down. He wasn't distancing himself emotionally. If anything, he tried harder to be affectionate, as if he sensed my unease and hoped to smother it with warmth. But affection can't hide fear. Not when it lives behind someone's eyes. The first real warning. One night, as we lay in bed, he tossed and turned for hours. His breath was uneven, restless. I reached out to touch his back, and he flinched, not away from me, but like he'd been startled out of a nightmare. "You good?" I whispered. He nodded quickly, too quickly. "Just thinking about work stuff," he murmured. That phrase again. Always work. Always vague. But then he said something that made my heart sink. "Do you think everything will work out for us? In the long run?" The question came out small, fragile. "Of course," I whispered, brushing his hair. "Why wouldn't it?" He didn't answer. He just lay there, staring into the dark, his silence heavier than any words. When love starts to feel like waiting. Suspicion isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It creeps. It grew in the quiet moments, when he lingered too long on bank apps, when he shut his laptop the second I walked into the room, when he avoided conversations about our future home with a sudden tightness in his throat. Each time I tried to ignore it, the unease curled a little deeper into me. I found myself asking little internal questions. Why does he look panicked when the mailman shows up? Why didn't he mention that expense? Why does he get tense when I bring up savings? But the biggest question was the one I didn't dare say out loud. What is he hiding from me? And why? I wasn't ready to confront him. Not yet. Not until I was absolutely sure. Not until I could no longer lie to myself. But the truth was coming for me. And when it finally hit, it would hit hard. The day everything came crashing down didn't feel dramatic at first. It was an ordinary Thursday, the kind of day you forget as soon as it ends. I was working at the dining table, headphones in, sketching a logo for a client when I heard a knock at the door. Not a gentle knock. A firm, urgent one. I paused my music. Wiped my hands on my jeans. Walked to the door thinking maybe it was a package or the neighbor needing something. But when I opened it, I found a man in a crisp shirt holding a clipboard and a stack of papers. His expression was polite, almost apologetic, the way someone looks before delivering bad news. "Ma'am," he said. "I'm looking for Liam Turner." My stomach tightened. "He isn't home." "I'm his partner." "Can I help you with something?" The man hesitated, flipping through his papers. "Are you authorized to discuss financial matters on his behalf?" Financial. That one word hit me like a cold drop of rain. I'm not sure," I answered honestly. "What is this about?" He exhaled gently. "I can't disclose details without speaking to him directly. But could you let him know we've attempted contact multiple times? He'll need to call us back immediately. It's urgent." My pulse throbbed in my throat. Urgent. Multiple attempts. Financial matters. And then, just before he turned to leave, a gust of wind lifted the top page of his clipboard. I didn't mean to look. But my eyes caught a glimpse. Outstanding balance, $48,632. Collections Department. My breath vanished. He tucked the paper quickly as if realizing too late that I'd seen it, gave me a tight smile, and walked away. I didn't move. I just stood there in the open doorway, the air outside suddenly too sharp, too loud. $48,000. Collections. And that was just one number on one sheet. My mind raced through every strange moment of the past few months, the letters, the late-night anxiety, the guarded behavior, the frantic phone calls. All the pieces snapped together in a way that was both undeniable and devastating. He wasn't stressed about work. He wasn't tired. He wasn't just forgetful. He was drowning. And he hadn't told me. The confrontation I couldn't avoid. When Liam came home that evening, I heard his keys before I saw him. They jingled with his familiar rhythm, a sound I'd always found comforting. But that night, the sound only made my chest tighten. He walked into the living room, loose tie, tired eyes, same routine. "Hey," he said softly, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I stepped back. His lips brushed air. He froze. "What's wrong?" he asked, voice tinged with confusion. I stared at him, my arms wrapped around myself not for warmth, but for strength. "Someone came by today," I said quietly. "A man. From a collections department." His face drained of color so quickly it startled me. "What did he say?" "That he needed to talk to you. That it was urgent." I swallowed hard. "That they've tried to reach you." He closed his eyes. Just for a second. But it was enough. Enough to tell me he already knew. Enough to tell me this wasn't new. Enough to tell me this was deliberate. "Liam," I whispered, my voice breaking, "what's going on?" He didn't answer. Not at first. He walked past me, sat on the edge of the couch, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. His shoulders trembled slightly. I'd never seen him look so small. Then he said it. I messed up. 2 words. 2 tiny words. But they cracked something inside me that I didn't know could break. The truth, finally spoken. "How much?" I asked. The question hung between us like a blade. He didn't look up. "A lot." "How much, Liam?" My voice shook. He inhaled shakily. "Over 60,000. The room tilted. My legs wobbled, and I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself. 60,000. I took a step toward him, anger and disbelief tangling in my chest. "When were you going to tell me?" "I don't know." His voice cracked. "I kept telling myself I'd find a way to fix it before you ever had to know." "Fix it?" I repeated. "Fix $60,000 in debt without me noticing?" He buried his face in his hands. "I never meant for it to get this bad," he whispered. "It started small, a credit card, then another, then medical bills when I lost my insurance for a while. And I kept thinking it would get better. But it got worse," I finished coldly. He nodded. I felt tears gather at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "Not yet. Why didn't you tell me?" My voice was quieter now, a whisper layered with hurt. He finally looked up at me, eyes red, expression raw. "Because I was ashamed," he said. "Because I didn't want you to see me as broken. Or irresponsible. Or someone who couldn't take care of you. I wanted to be the man you thought I was." I stared at him, my heart aching in a way words couldn't describe. "You didn't give me the chance," I said. "You didn't trust me enough to handle the truth with you." He swallowed. "I know." A long silence stretched between us. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. The faint tick of the clock on the wall. My own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "Is that everything?" I asked. "Is it 60,000 total?" His silence answered before he did. My stomach twisted. "Liam, how much in total?" He exhaled, shoulders collapsing. "Closer to 90,000. The words hit like a physical blow. All the air left my lungs. $90,000. Hidden. 4 years. I sank into the chair behind me, my hands trembling uncontrollably. A cold wave washed over me, shock, betrayal, disbelief, grief. Our plans. Our future. Our home. Everything we'd built together wasn't built on trust. It was built on secrecy. On fear. on a truth he buried so deep he hoped it would disappear. I looked at him, this man I loved, this man I thought I knew, and I realized something painful. We were not standing on solid ground. We were standing on sand. And the tide had finally come in. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe the way I normally breathed. $90,000. The number echoed in my head like a siren. I felt it in my fingertips, in the tightness of my throat, in the numbness spreading through my arms. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel possible. But the trembling in Liam's hands told me it was. I leaned back in the chair, staring at the wall behind him because I couldn't look at him anymore, not without feeling something inside me crumble. When were you going to tell me? I asked again, quieter this time, but sharper. He rubbed his palms against his jeans, his voice barely more than a whisper. I kept thinking, if I worked harder, if I got a promotion, if I tightened things on my end, I could chip away at it before you ever had to know. But that didn't happen. I wasn't accusing him. I was stating a fact neither of us could avoid anymore. No, he admitted. It kept snowballing. And the more it grew, the harder it became to say anything. Every month that passed, I felt more ashamed. The worst part wasn't the debt, not really. It was the hidden life behind it. The secret struggle. The lies told through omission, through silence. Trust isn't just about honesty. It's about letting someone see you when you're not at your best. He hadn't let me see him at all. The lies between us. I finally managed to find my voice. Liam, every bill we planned, every budget we made, every conversation about the house, the future, the kids we talked about, you knew none of that was real. He flinched as though the words physically struck him. I wanted it to be real, he said earnestly. I wanted to believe I could get out before it hurt us. I thought if I worked harder. You can't outrun $90,000, I snapped, the anger finally pushing through the shock. You can't just work harder and pretend it's not sitting under your bed waiting to explode. He looked at me, eyes glassy. I know. I know I messed up. I wasn't trying to lie to you, I was trying to protect you. That's not protection, I said, voice cracking. That's betrayal. He bowed his head. And for the first time since I'd known him, he looked like a man collapsing inward, piece by piece. The missing pieces start to fit. Something tugged at me, a memory. Small. Fleeting. But suddenly clear. Liam, I whispered, the phone calls. The letters. The work stress. None of that was work, was it? He shook his head. And the time your card got declined at the grocery store? He closed his eyes. I was maxed out. And the electricity bill you forgot? I didn't have the money. And the raise you said you got last year? That one made his eyes open slowly. Shame spread across his face. I didn't get a raise, he admitted. I said that because I needed you to believe things were getting better. I needed to believe it too. The words sank into me slowly. Painfully. He hadn't lied once. He had lied over and over again. Small lies. Medium lies. A tapestry of half-truths stitched into the fabric of our home. How long have you been hiding this? I asked. He swallowed hard. His throat bobbed visibly. Since before I met you. My breath hitched. So all 5 years of our relationship, I whispered. Yes, he said. I was already drowning when you met me. The weight of that realization. I got up from the chair because sitting felt impossible. My legs carried me into the kitchen on autopilot. The floor felt unsteady beneath me, even though logically I knew it wasn't the floor that was shifting. It was my world. I leaned on the counter, gripping the edge until my knuckles went white. Behind me, I heard him get up slowly, as if afraid to break whatever fragile thing existed between us. Please, he said softly, say something. I didn't turn around. What do you want me to say, Liam? My voice was barely audible. Do you want me to say it's okay? That we'll figure it out? That I don't feel like you just pulled the rug from under everything we built together? He said nothing. Because there was nothing he could say. 5 years, I whispered. 5 years of planning a future with someone who didn't tell me the truth about who he was. 5 years of thinking we were growing together, not knowing you were carrying a burden big enough to crush both of us. He moved closer, but stopped a few feet away, like he knew crossing that distance would hurt more. I didn't want to lose you, he said quietly. You might have already, I replied. A pain I didn't expect. He crumpled onto one of the bar stools, his elbows on his knees, his face in his hands. I'm so sorry, he choked out, voice breaking. I was terrified. Every day. Every night. I kept thinking if I just did more, earned more, saved more, maybe I could fix it. I thought I had time. You had 5 years, I said. And instead of asking for help, you hid it. He nodded slowly. I know. I know I hurt you. But I never meant to. I never meant for it to get like this. The problem was, I knew he wasn't a bad man. He wasn't malicious. He wasn't trying to trap me, or use me, or scam me. He was ashamed. Deeply ashamed. But shame doesn't excuse secrecy. And secrecy doesn't protect love. It kills it quietly. The part that broke me. I finally turned around. Did you ever plan to tell me? I asked. He hesitated. The hesitation was worse than any answer he could have given. Something inside me cracked, quietly, like a hairline fracture in glass. But fractures spread. They always do. I wiped a tear that escaped down my cheek. Liam, I said softly, I could have handled debt. I could have handled fear. I could have handled starting from scratch. But I can't handle lies. I can't handle being shut out of the truth while you pretended our life was secure. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. And in that silence, I realized something painful. This wasn't just financial betrayal. This was emotional betrayal. A betrayal of partnership. The foundation of trust we'd built wasn't cracked. It was shattered. And somewhere deep inside, I felt the first whispers of dread. How do you rebuild a future with someone who hid the most important truth of their life from you? I didn't cry right away. People assume heartbreak is loud, dramatic sobs, screaming, collapsing onto the floor. But real heartbreak, the kind that splits you from the inside, it's quiet. It's the kind of quiet that rings in your ears. That night, after Liam finally told me everything, after he fell asleep with his back turned to me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The word debt kept repeating in my head like a metronome. Debt. Lies. Future. Destroyed. I kept thinking about the nights we spent planning our life, the home we wanted to buy, the trips we wanted to take, the family we dreamed about. Suddenly it all felt like a movie I had watched, not a future I had lived in. I thought I knew the man sleeping next to me. I thought he was my safety. But now, he felt like a stranger borrowing the face of the man I loved. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of him in the kitchen. Normally he hummed while making coffee, but not today. It was silent. When I walked in, he didn't turn around. He just said, quietly, "I'm sorry." And something about the way he said it, so small, so defeated, made my chest tighten with anger and brokenness at the same time. "Sorry doesn't fix this, Liam," I said. My voice cracked even though I tried to hold it together. "Sorry doesn't give me back the years we planned for." He finally faced me. His eyes were tired, rimmed red. I know. I know I messed everything up. But I swear, I was trying to fix it before telling you." That was the moment the dam inside me snapped. Fix it? How? I wasn't yelling, but the sharpness in my tone cut more than volume ever could. By lying to me? By pretending everything was fine while dragging us into a future built on debt? How was that fixing anything, Liam? He sank into a kitchen chair like my words weighed 1,000 pounds. I didn't want you to leave, he whispered. There it was. The fear behind all his lies. And I hated that a part of me, a small, hurt part, understood him. Because the truth is, if he had told me at the beginning, I don't know what I would have done. I might have run. I might have stayed. But at least the choice would have been mine. Now, the choice felt stolen. The day everything broke. We didn't talk much the rest of the day. We moved around each other like ghosts in the same house, present but distant. Around noon, the phone rang. He didn't answer. I did. A calm voice said, "This is regarding the overdue balance for Liam Turner." I hung up before they finished. And that was the moment I realized something. This wasn't going away. Not in a week. Not in a month. Not even in a year. This wasn't a mistake. This was his entire life, and he had hidden it. And I was expected to build a future on top of it. Or sink with him. That evening, when the sun dipped low and the shadows filled the living room, I finally spoke. We can't stay in this house. His head snapped toward me. What? No, we can fix it. I'll get another job. Liam, I said softly. Too softly. The softness that comes right before a breaking point. We can't afford this place anymore. He curled forward, elbows on his knees, hands covering his face. I didn't mean for this to happen. I swear. I thought I could handle it. But he didn't handle it. He hid it. He let it rot and grow until it swallowed everything. Until it swallowed us. The moment I knew. He reached for my hand. And normally, I would have let him. Normally, his touch felt like an anchor. This time, I pulled away. His face crumpled as if that tiny movement hurt more than anything I could have said. And that's when I knew. We weren't going to survive this. Not because of the debt. But because of the betrayal. We spent years dreaming together. And he spent years lying to me. How do you recover from something like that? How do you rebuild trust when the foundation was quietly cracking underneath you the whole time? You don't. Not easily. Maybe not at all. The night I left. I packed a bag, just one. Not everything. Just enough. He watched from the doorway, eyes glossy, lips trembling. Please, he whispered. Please don't go. We can figure this out together. I paused, hand on the zipper of my bag. My voice shook when I said. I needed honesty, Liam. Not perfection. Just honesty. He stepped forward. I'll be honest now. I swear. I'll tell you everything. But it was too late. Honesty offered after destruction isn't honesty. It's desperation. I lifted the bag onto my shoulder. I'm not leaving forever, I said. I just need space. But we both knew what space meant. Space is a wound. And wounds become scars. And scars become distance. He reached for me one more time. I stepped back one more time. And that was it. I walked out of the house where we cooked, laughed, argued, planned, dreamed, and the cold air hit me like a slap. For the first time in years, I was alone. Not lonely. Just alone. And painfully, terrifyingly free. I stayed at my sister's place the first few nights after leaving Liam. She didn't ask many questions, just handed me a blanket, made me tea, and let me exist in silence. Sometimes love is loud. Sometimes love is giving someone a quiet place to fall apart. But falling apart didn't happen right away. Not for me. The first 2 days, I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a numbness, like my emotions were wrapped in thick cotton. On the third day, the numbness cracked. It happened while I was washing dishes. A stupid moment. A completely ordinary, gentle moment. The plate I was holding slipped from my soapy hands and shattered in the sink. And suddenly, I broke too. I gripped the edge of the counter as sobs tore out of me, ugly, shaking, raw. Not because of the plate. Not because of the debt. But because I finally felt the weight of the years I had spent loving someone who hid such a huge part of their life from me. All the nights we dreamed about a future, weren't dreams built on lies still lies? I cried until my sister appeared behind me, her arms wrapping around my shoulders. "It's okay," she whispered. But it wasn't. Not yet. The first call. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a message. "Liam. Please come home. I can't do this without you." I stared at the screen so long the light dimmed. Then he called. I let it ring. Then ring again. Then again. Finally, on the fourth attempt, I answered. His voice was wrecked. "Please, can we talk?" I swallowed hard. "Talking won't fix what you did." "I know. I know. But I don't want to lose you." I closed my eyes. Because hearing him sound like that, like the man I loved, not the man who lied, hurt more than anything. "I need time," I said. He exhaled shakily. "Can I at least explain? The real reason?" That made my stomach twist. Because apparently, there was more. "Fine," I whispered. "Tell me." But the answer he gave wasn't what I expected. The confession behind the confession. He started slowly. "I didn't take that loan for myself." I frowned. "Then who?" A long silence. "My brother." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" He got into trouble. Money trouble. Really bad. And he asked me for help. I didn't want to tell you because you've always said that my family uses me." He wasn't wrong. His brother was irresponsible, always in some crisis, always needing something. But this? This was beyond anything he should have covered. "I told him to figure it out," Liam continued, voice shaking. "But he said he'd lose everything. He begged me. And I thought I could help him and pay it off quietly before it touched our life." My chest tightened in a painful, confusing way. Because for the first time, some part of this almost made sense. Almost. "But you didn't pay it off quietly," I said. "You let it grow until it was out of control. Until it became our burden without my consent." "I know," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." I wanted to scream. I wanted to forgive him. I wanted to slam the phone down. I wanted to go back home. I wanted everything and nothing at the same time. When the call ended, I sat on the edge of the bed, heart pounding, mind spinning. He didn't take that loan for luxury or greed. He took it to save someone else. But the damage? The betrayal? The years of hiding? Those were still real. The message that changed everything. 3 days later, while I was still at my sister's house, I got a message that made my blood run cold. Not from Liam. But from his brother. A single text. "Please don't blame Liam. It's my fault. I'm sorry you found out." And then another. "He took the debt for me because he didn't want me to go to jail." Jail? My hands trembled as I typed back. "Me? What do you mean jail? What did you do?" No reply. I tried calling. No answer. Suddenly the story was bigger. Darker. More dangerous than I realized. I paced the room until my sister came in. "What happened?" she asked. I handed her the phone. Her eyes widened. "You need to go talk to him," she said. "Now." And for the first time since leaving, I felt something that wasn't numbness or anger. Fear. What exactly had Liam been hiding? The debt was bad enough. But this was something else. Something that turned my heartbreak into a knot of cold panic. Because maybe, just maybe, I hadn't heard the real truth yet. Maybe the secret that destroyed our future was only the beginning. When I arrived back at our apartment, the place felt unfamiliar, like a museum of a life I no longer recognized. Quiet. Still. Too neat, like someone had been cleaning to keep themselves from falling apart. Liam opened the door before I could knock twice. He looked exhausted. Eyes red, hair messy, shoulders slumped like he was carrying the weight of 10 years instead of 10 days. "Come in," he whispered. I stepped inside, keeping distance between us. He noticed, but he didn't reach for me. That small restraint, it told me he understood just how deeply he had hurt me. "Your brother texted me," I said. His head dropped. "I guessed he might. He said you took the loan so he wouldn't go to jail." A beat of silence. Then, "He was being blackmailed," Liam said. My heart jumped. "What? By who?" He rubbed his hands over his face. "Someone he worked with. He got involved in something stupid, selling things from the warehouse to make side money. It got out of hand. He panicked. He came to me, crying, saying this guy was threatening to expose him to his boss and to the police if he didn't pay. And instead of letting him face consequences, I said slowly, you took out a massive loan." "He's my brother," he whispered helplessly. I closed my eyes. That was always the problem. His loyalty wasn't the gentle, healthy kind. It was blind. Crippling. A chain he let his family wrap around him. "I thought I could protect him," he continued. "I thought I could fix it fast. I thought you'd judge him. And me. And I didn't want you thinking less of the people I love." The ache in his voice pulled at something soft in me. But hurt can sit beside empathy. I met his eyes. "And what about protecting me? Protecting us?" He froze. "You didn't just hide a problem," I added. "You built a future with me on borrowed ground." He swallowed hard, eyes shining. "I know. And I hate myself for it." His voice cracked. "I just didn't want to lose you." I wiped a hand over my face, exhausted in my bones. "You didn't lose me because of your brother," I said. "You lost me because you took away my right to choose the truth." He closed his eyes like those words cut deeper than anything else. The choice I didn't want to make. We sat for hours. Talking. Pausing. Talking again. For the first time everything was laid bare. Every receipt, every late notice, every call he had ignored, every mistake he had buried. By the end of it, I wasn't angry. I was empty. And I realized something I didn't expect. When trust breaks in big ways, it doesn't shatter loudly. It erodes silently. Piece by piece. Promise by promise. Lie by lie. When the clock struck past midnight, Liam finally whispered, "Can we fix this? Please tell me we still can." I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't a villain. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who loved too hard in the wrong direction. And didn't love me enough to be honest. "I don't know," I whispered truthfully. And it was the first honest sentence between us in a long time. His face crumpled, but he nodded. "I'll wait for you," he said quietly. "Even if it takes months." But something inside me already knew the truth. Waiting wouldn't fix what broke. Time couldn't glue trust back together. And love, the kind we had, wasn't enough anymore. The moment I walked away. I packed my things the next morning. Not out of anger. Not out of punishment. But out of self-respect. He watched from the doorway, hands trembling slightly. "Can I help you carry anything?" he asked softly. That almost undid me. Even then, he wanted to take care of me. "No," I said with a shaky smile. "I've got it." When I reached the door, he spoke again. Do you still love me? I stopped. Some truths hurt the most when spoken aloud. Yes, I whispered. But love isn't the problem. The problem was everything else. He nodded, tears spilling silently. I'm sorry, he said. For all of it. I know, I replied. And I meant it. But apologies don't rebuild futures. I walked out, closed the door behind me, and felt the sound of it echo in my chest. Not like an ending. More like a beginning I didn't want but needed. Aftermath, when the world found out. People talk. Family talks louder. His brother confessed everything to their parents. They were horrified, not at him, but at Liam. How could you drag her into this? You've ruined everything. She trusted you. For once. I didn't intervene to protect him. This wasn't my battle anymore. Liam didn't defend himself. He stood there and took every word. Quiet. Guilty. Shoulders bowed. Later, his mother called me. Sweetheart, you didn't deserve this, she said gently. We love you, and we always will. Whatever happens between you and Liam, you'll always have a place with us. I cried after that call. Because losing him was one thing. Losing the family I thought I'd have, that was another wound entirely. The start of healing. Months passed. Slowly, painfully. I moved into a small apartment across town. Got a financial counselor. Corrected my credit records. Rebuilt my routines. Some nights, grief hit hard. Not grief for him. Grief for the future we painted together, the house, the backyard garden, the quiet coffee mornings, the Christmas traditions that would never be. Healing wasn't a straight line. But every month hurt a little less. And every month, I felt a little more like myself. A self that deserved honesty. A self that deserved a partner who wasn't afraid to share the hardest truths. 1 year later. I ran into Liam at a grocery store. He looked healthy. Stronger. Steadier. He smiled gently. I paid off the loan, he said. I'm debt-free. That's good, I said, and I meant it. He hesitated. I wanted to tell you that, you were right to leave. It forced me to grow up. To see what I'd become. I nodded. I'm glad you did. We stood there quietly, two people who once planned forever but were now strangers with shared memories. Take care of yourself, I said. You too, he replied. No drama. No tears. Just closure. Sometimes healing isn't a reunion. Sometimes it's a peaceful goodbye.